This is GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly podcast about gaming, technology, and play. Your hosts are Michael Martin, Andy Piper, and Michael Rowe. The thoughts and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests alone and are not the opinions of any organization which they have been, are, or may be affiliated with.
This is episode 552, Norwegian Blue Vision. Hello, welcome again to GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly technology podcast. Well, mostly weekly. We missed last week recording, but we have another episode for you right now. So we try and keep it as weekly as we can. My name is Andy Piper. I'm one of three co-hosts, regular co-hosts. We're usually three, sometimes there's only two of the show. And in our show, we talk about what's new in gaming technology, virtual reality, how those things intersect with the world of work and just the tech scene generally. And with me are my two friends who are both confusingly but beautifully called Michael. Michael Rowe, over to you.
Oh, thank you, Andy. Yes, we do skip a week every once in a while, and I will be skipping next week, but you guys got it covered. So I'm really looking forward to it. Michael, over to you.
Hey, everybody. Great to be back again after 2 weeks away, I guess, in total. And I want to say thank you to all the visitors that came to the GamesAtWork.biz website. I can see each of you accounted for approximately 1.02 views apiece. So thank you very much for those views. That's a good place to drop us ideas of what to talk about. Otherwise, you're going to be subjected to what we found interesting, and we're going to start that off with a couple of articles that we've been accumulating. The very first one, and we've got a series of The Verge articles, so The Verge, shout out to you guys, is from an article talking about Meta doing some interesting things to train their own AI agents. And we've seen a couple of articles kind of on this point here recently. This first one is dealing with using what employees do on their computers, their work computers, to train its AI agents. And I bet both of you have feels about this.
Well, first off, it's U.S. only employees, which I think aligns quite well with our beautiful privacy laws that we have in this country. And second of all, it is their work machines. And so I think, at least in the U.S., when you sign a work contract, you pretty much allow them to have full access to all the data that you generate and create while you're working, which is why you should, Michael's personal opinion, never use your personal equipment for work. Because you have given them that permission. And this one's actually not a surprise. If you're trying to build systems that understand the employee behavior in order to enable systems to improve and automate things that you do at work, this is how you do it.
I saw something very similar to this recently that was talking about companies that were selling their Slack and email recordings. I don't know if you call them recordings, data, yes. In order to content to train AI as well. So it kind of goes along the same line.
I mean, that was more of a asset recovery kind of exercise, right? Where these businesses, that particular story with these businesses were startups that had failed, gone bust, and in order to kind of as
extract
part of the liquidation
value.
of the 100%, yeah. So extract value from the assets that they had accumulated, which happened to be all of the conversations through Slack or whatever private message, or so-called private message channels they might have been using. But this Meta story is, I don't know, it's disappointing. It's possibly unsurprising. It certainly must be disheartening for an employee to know that everything being done on the device is being tracked and recorded. It's very 19th century factory workers being overseen by a shop steward who's making sure that they're constantly working, and it's just another method of doing that. But worse than that, this is using it to as Michael Rowe you just said about the how best to train the automatons that will follow you. So that must be a pretty dispiriting thing, I would think. So I'm really curious to know what the actual internal response is to this idea.
Here's my struggle with this one, though, because I mean they're really talking about the tracking of like mouse movements and keystrokes, and I've been playing with AIs lately that will build charts for you, and you watch it literally draw on the screen and move things around, and I am horrible at building charts, and these are getting really, really good. So it takes my thoughts, my stuff that I write up, say I'd like a chart that kind of looks like this, and it goes and it's done. Well, so from that perspective, it's making me more productive, but I know there's like 6 people whose day job it is, and not literally 6 people, and not literally I know them, but there are people whose data was captured probably to create those things.
Well, and another thing that I think has come up since we last recorded together was Claude Design. Which is much more visual as well in terms of what it's doing, how it's using the browser and doing things for you from that perspective. So clearly these models are becoming much more capable. It's interesting, though, that we still default to doing what the human did, right? We're still... We've built a human language model to enable us to talk in natural language to the computer so it does the things that we are describing, which is not very efficient. That's why it's burning all of this
tokens,
data and energy, and tokens, exactly, represented by tokens. But not only are we doing that, we are now teaching the robot to be us with all of our inefficiencies, right? It is not particularly efficient for us to move a mouse around a screen and to do things. There are more efficient, potentially, ways to achieve those tasks.
Shortcuts are faster than the mouse.
So, yeah.
But the thing that's really interesting, again, if you think about it, is the natural evolution of work from 10 plus years ago when we were trying to do automated UI testing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah,
which
very much so.
We got to efficiency there by navigating the DOM instead of actually doing mouse cursor clicks on the screen. So maybe we're going to get that same way in consuming your mouse clicks and turning them into automation, creating a PowerPoint.
Well, there's the notion of a tesseract, which is really simply taking a piece of string between your 2 fingers, and you want to get from one end of the string to the other. You just bring those 2 ends together. So I would imagine that the computers will find a way to do very much the same thing. Yeah. Can you see that?
Or you can go the long way around.
You could go the long way around.
But I thought the Tesseract was taken from the Avengers in the Avengers movie.
Yeah, they broke it open. They found the little gem that they put in the glove.
Right. No, this was from Madeleine L'Engle. I mean, this is a long time ago, right? So you kind of went to sci-fi and maybe a little space. We have, I think, a quick touchdown here to then bring us around again to find a different space story. SpaceX was reported to have a possibility of buying Cursor entirely for $60 billion. So here's an example, Michael, of someone who wants to buy all the technology versus to license and use it. And that's a pretty big price point.
Yeah, I saw this one and did a big head fake, right? It's like, what? Again, I understand because the SpaceX is now becoming a conglomerate instead of a single child company within a larger conglomerate, right? Because why is XAI part of SpaceX other than it all has X in the name? I don't get it from that perspective. I understand why you might want to have a fairly robust tool that generates code. Okay, and I've played with Cursor. It's pretty impressive at times. Last time I used it, I think, was probably about a year ago. But I don't understand the logic of this corporate structure. I understand the business logic.
Does Cursor have its own models now, or is it still sitting on top of the other ones?
I think it's sitting on
but
top
I mean,
of the
presumably then you would just put that on top of Grok and you'd have everybody would be happy with yes. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy. That's a phrase.
Yeah. Right.
So here's our space launch point, right? There was an article, I think, Michael, you saw this. I saw it too, about NASA's Curiosity rover finding organic molecules on Mars.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So
Marvin, the Martian is coming.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Curiosity's been doing cool stuff, and I know, it was, 5 or more than that years ago, they found the nodules that looked to be things that had to have been created based off of water on Mars. Right? They were like blueberries, I guess what they were described as, these stones in the landscape. So again, organic molecules, I guess, not a surprise. We'll see how long it takes before they officially state this as a fact versus we think we have found them.
And maybe to round out our AI stories, we have one other one, and we're not trying to be like super actual timely with all of them. There's been a lot of ink spilled already around the Mythos AI module from Anthropic, and it finding a whole bunch of security issues with Project Glasswing. This particular article kind of touches on a few of those points, but Michael, was there something else you wanted to make sure we knit?
Actually, the funniest thing about this, so what this article is specifically about is the fact that the Mythos model, which was supposed to be off-limited to everybody because it was so powerful, blah, 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 had been hacked, and they hacked their Discord server, and a group of hackers were using the model. And the comment that I heard earlier this week that I literally laughed out loud on was, I guess they didn't use Mythos to confirm the security of the Mythos model, since it was discovered and
yes,
hacked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Security. Gotta love it.
Security's fun.
Okay. Now we're going into some really fun stuff, right? Now, so long time and even short time listeners of the podcast will know that Michael Rowe has been exploring, expanding, using a particular device. And Andy, you want to maybe introduce a little bit more context on this before we hand over to Michael?
Well, I mean, if you are so short time a listener that this is your first episode, this will be news to you. But Michael Rowe has, as we all are, to different degrees, is a fan of Apple hardware and technology, and has a Vision Pro and has been building software with it as well. But yes, we've seen a number of stories this week around the Vision Pro, both talking about. Well, the first one we have is from Mac Rumors, really talking about the fact that, possibly related to the new Apple leadership that's also happened since we last recorded together, the announcement of Tim Cook's retirement. And I said, by the way, I would like to point this out, when we started talking about the Vision Pro when it first came out, that this is Tim Cook's legacy device, really, in my opinion, not the just launched MacBook Neo that came out at the very end of his tenure. I really think that this was the thing that he staked a lot on and pushed a lot into, and it's it costing $3,500 or pounds. It's been pretty out of reach for the majority of people and hasn't really taken off. So there's arguments about, even though they refreshed it with an M5 chip, they don't plan to go further down this road.
So, having said all that, this is a great bookend for me, because on launch day of the Vision Pro, I had a Vision Pro native app available. It was basically the extension of my Wasted Time app, which ran on TV and phone and watch and Mac formats. I made a version that ran natively on the Vision Pro. And right the day after my latest brand new app was made available as a native RealityKit 3D based Vision Pro app, this article comes out from Mac Rumors saying, "Oh, it's dead." Now, I think if you look at the other rumors and commentary, etc., and we'll have an article from Dan Morin and others are also out there. What's happened is The Vision Pro is a dev kit. Let's face it, $3,500. It was a dev kit. It still is a dev kit. They did a hardware refresh late fall, and it's still behaving as a dev kit. Right now, they have just posted 10 open job positions for people on the Vision Pro team from Apple. They were posted yesterday, so it's not being shut down. Is it a big hit? No, I don't think anybody thought it would be when it first came out. And I believe what's really interesting is a lot of the technology, at least the concepts, are showing up in other spaces. And I do think it is on a pause right now as they try to get to something else. We'll find out a lot more in about 5 weeks at WWDC if the Vision OS 27 bump is truly just oh yeah, and we did the same stuff under Vision OS. That will be somewhat telling. But I think I've got no problem with it being in a pause mode right now. There's not enough developers for it. It's too expensive, as you say. I love my device, and I use it as much as I can. I don't get to use it as much as I like to because I can't use it with my work machine. So I can only use it for personal stuff, and it is still an awesome device. So
and look, the rejoinder in 6 colors about the Vision Pro not being quite dead yet is really talking about the fact that they may have stepped back, but it doesn't mean that it's just going to completely go away. And I think something that we talked about as we saw the pieces come together that enabled the Vision Pro to become a product around, the different technologies that Apple have been quietly building into other devices. They're in a really potentially really strong position from things like the eye tracking, the hand gesture controls for whatever they do when in the visual space. We see every other organization trying to put glasses with cameras on people's faces. Whether or not that's what Apple's eventual next gen form factor would be, but we also know that everybody's been trying to own the next space from a device perspective, the next form factor, after Apple stole the phone and arguably the watch as platforms.
Yeah, no. So I'm really excited to see what's happening in a few weeks. It's even if they stop developing it further, as long as I can still use it for what I use it for right now, which is a screen experience for my Mac, a gaming experience, and a video content consumption device. I think it's got many, many years left for me. And
I'm really excited about when they do that fire sale, and you can get them for $20 on a street corner.
I'll buy the second one then, an M5.
Yeah, there we go.
Because mine's an M2.
Well, it'll be really interesting to see. I mean, we've certainly seen other reported examples of how Apple as a company have learned and grown from the Lisa, from the Newton, many other devices. And I
saw a Newton at OggCamp. There was somebody had converted it to charge over USB-C, and there were all kinds of fun stuff going on around. There was a whole retro computing meetup at OggCamp that was super fun.
How cool!
Yeah, I did some development on the Newton in '94. It was awesome.
So those ideas will continue to come back. Now, one thing that will not come back is an iPhone 5 that has been blended into dust. So some people,
well, matter is neither created nor destroyed.
Some people might remember the Will It Blend, series of videos and the like, and apparently here this was an example of blending an iPhone 5 into dust and then casting it into a resin sphere, which looks oddly like a Palantir that is a little foggy here in the beginning. Not the company, but the actual device, that you would use in Middle Earth.
I think the final casting is cool looking. I think it's gorgeous.
I agree with you. I'm curious because there's a reference on this website to doing things with other devices or somewhere, or either it's on this website or on one that I came to it when I was linked to it. It does refer to it as an ongoing project from 2018. So the implication is that there's more to come. But I would
both
like to see
linked
more.
Pages. Both linked pages are bad.
It's sad, isn't it? Yeah. So another reason why the Internet Archive is important. So interestingly, the Internet Archive has now released a WordPress plugin to help you to battle link rot. And I haven't installed it on our podcast site, but I've installed it on my personal one. So the idea is that it will try to replace dead links with archive links to archive copies if it can. And it will give you reports of bad links as well. So,
I used the Internet Archive yesterday, Andy. I was watching a 1986 movie called Rad that was recorded off of a VHS device. So I was watching that on my laptop in full VHS quality.
Was it totally tubular?
It was totally rad, as actually is what it was. And it's funny, too. It's about BMX biking when rad in German means bike. So that's funny.
Since we're talking about the 90s, we should talk about Factory 95.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yes. So Factory 95 is an example of building PowerPoint factories in Windows 95 as a game. And this kind of reminded me of a card game. Oh gosh, I've lost the name of it now too, where you would build the tile. It was like some sort of a build a dungeon sort of thing, and you would move from one thing to the next.
Looks familiar.
But it's a Windows 95 kind of presentation and game that you put the tiles down and you build a factory. So, and maybe, Michael, if you follow it very carefully,
you could follow it. You can then
you can click on the right things, and then you can create a wonderful PowerPoint at the end, right?
I quite like the trailer for it because it actually does. You were talking, Michael, about watching something off of the VHS tape, and it uses that kind of VHS style intro in the intro video on Steam. I'm not sure whether I'm going to pay £7 for this, even with the introductory 20% off. That's the 20% off offer puts it, $9, something like that for the introductory weekend on Steam. I'm not sure, but it definitely tickles my both retro and kind of Windows 95 interest and enjoyment.
Well, speaking of retro, the next link that we have on the C64 and the ZX Spectrum handhelds. Oh, yeah. And those are pretty cool looking.
They're gorgeous. So this is the same company that makes the Evercade consoles. And they have essentially got the branding, just the color scheme and setup the two devices are otherwise more or less identical. They look like they've got the color scheme, the ZX Spectrum with the little Spectrum flash across the right-hand corner. And the buttons look a little bit like the rubberized keys on the old ZX Spectrum. The other one is, and it's all black, and the other one is Commodore 64 cream. But then the games on these have 25 retro titles appropriate for each of the two systems, and you can expand it using SD cards. And I think they're pretty expensive, though, really, considering that you can get for half the price a general purpose handheld of the same form factor and capability that you could run potentially thousands of games on. But you are here clearly paying for the nostalgia and the branding.
Yeah. Well, the thing that got me excited, and I know we talked about this before, was the Commodore coming back out with the basic beige Starlight and Founder 64s.
Yeah, the C64
and they have
Ultimate.
just announced.
Yep.
They have just announced the Ultimate with the C64C, which is the Slimline edition. And the thing that was really cool about this was I used to have the SX64 portable, which had that 4-inch screen and a color monitor built in and a built-in floppy drive and stuff. And I used GEOS on it, and this comes with GEOS, which was my first fully GUI operating system that I worked with on computers, and I remember that quite fondly.
On the C64C, the one they're resurrecting.
On the SX64, but both of them have it on this.
Right.
just as one more blast from the past for you, Michael, you and friend of the show, Ian Hughes, talked about this way on back in 2019, where there was something called a C64 Mini, which is actually apparently still available on retrogames.biz, our fellow sister.biz website.
Is that the one that was fully in the joystick?
No, they actually have a little. Well. There was one of those too. You're right, but there's also a version of it that's like this little console-y thing with in the special colors that Commodore only can be known for.
Yeah, in fact, there's a black edition, which is a new version that's come out in the last couple of years as well. It's essentially again doing that emulation on Linux with an HDMI output, but it is really really cute for sure.
Yeah. So guys, I think that's where we need to leave it for now. So if you want one of those little C64s or an Atari, it looks like they have some Ataris here too, like the 400 and more, head on over to retrogames.biz or join us again here next week. We talk about retro games and stuff like that quite a bit. And we'd love to share more with you next time on gamesatwork.biz.
See ya.
See ya, everybody.
See ya. You've been listening to GamesAtWork.biz, the podcast about gaming technology and play. We are part of the Blueberry Podcasting Network, and would like to thank the band Random Encounters for their song, Big Blue. You can follow us at our website at GamesAtWork.biz.